Hello, everyone. I know we were hoping we'd be back, normal school and all that, and seeing each other every day, but I know we couldn't keep that going. So for now, I would make sure on your off days, hopefully B group, you guys are watching this video, so that you aren't behind when you come back tomorrow. We'll finish up 7.5. We'll have 2 days of that, so we'll finish that up this week. Still make sure you're getting your homework in. Again, we still have till Friday at the end of the day to get that turned in before you get any points off of that homework. All right, so we're going to start on 7.5 today. We're going to do the day 1 stuff today. We'll do the day 2 stuff tomorrow. We're getting into kind of more and more complex factoring. We learned last week that we can factor out a GCF. We could say, okay, if I have something like 3x squared plus 6x, I can say I can divide a 3x from each of those, okay, and be left with x plus 2. Okay, that's one type of factoring. Again, your factoring is kind of the opposite of multiplying something out. Instead of distributing something out and coming up with 3x squared plus 6x, we said, okay, let's undo that, and we end up with these two factors. That's what factoring is. It's breaking things up into those two different factors. So today we're doing what's called x squared plus bx plus c, or a. You'll see it two different ways. You might see it like this, that it has right here, this x squared plus bx plus c, or you might see it as ax squared plus bx plus c. Here we're doing where a is equal to 1. Okay, so essentially it's these type of trinomials. This x squared, let's do this one in our example, x squared plus 6x plus 5. I can think, okay, can I take anything out? There's no common factor. I can't take an x out of every term. There's really nothing between 6 and 5 and 1 that I can take out of everything. So we have a certain strategy that we use when we're breaking, okay, your little 3-term polynomial here into 2 separate binomials. Okay, and it explains it here. It's saying, okay, well, the P and the Q have to equal B, and the P times Q have to equal C. And that all kind of sounds like gibberish. All right, so let me show you what I like to do. I like to think of this like a little puzzle. I like to think, okay, if I want to end up at the very end with x squared plus 6x plus 5, okay, I have to break this into 2 little binomials here, okay, that get multiplied together. I know I'm going to have an x here to start off each one, and I have to do this kind of puzzle. I have to think, okay, when I FOIL 2 binomials out, I know I end up here with a little x squared term. Then I have 2 little x terms. I don't know what they are yet, but I know they have to add to 6x. And then I multiply these 2 numbers here at the end, and they've got to add up, or sorry, not add up, they've got to multiply to this last number. Okay, and then when I combine whatever those 2 little x terms are, they need to equal 6. Okay, so what I have to do for each of these problems, I have to think, what are the numbers that multiply to 5 but add to 6? Okay, that multiply to this C but add to B. And this is the kind of visual aid that I like to use, this little X, okay, where we plug in the 2 numbers. So you put your little B value down here and your C value up here. So it would look like this. It would look like 6 and 5. And you want to think, okay, well, they're going to add to this number and multiply to this number. Okay, so you need to figure out, okay, what two numbers can I use that add to 6 but multiply to 5? So this is where that little factor sheet that hopefully we've done either before spring break or just this week, hopefully we filled that in so you can have your little cheat sheet that says, okay, let me look at all my little factors of 5. I've got 2 and 3, and I've got 1 and 5. Okay, well, 2 and 3 don't add up to 6, but 1 and 5 do. Okay, if I multiply 1 and 5, they add up to 5. They multiply to 5. And 1 plus 5 is equal to 6. So I know my two numbers here in this binomial are 1 and 5. Okay? I want to do that whole process again because I know it's a little bit, it's totally new. Okay? I'm going to give you a trinomial. So let me think for a second. Let's give you x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay, it's this little puzzle where I have to think, okay, what can I use, what two numbers, because I know it's going to be x plus and x plus. If I have two positive signs, all these numbers are positive. So I have two different numbers I need to find. I need to find the numbers that add to 4 and multiply to 3. Okay, well, only two numbers multiply to 3, and it's 1 and 3. 1 and 3 add to 4 and multiply to 3, so that tracks. So 1 and 3. If you want to check your work, you can. Okay, x times x is x squared. 1 times x is, let me do it in FOIL order. So x times 3 is 3x. 1 times x is x, and 1 times 3 is 3. Then you would combine your like terms and you would get x squared plus 4x plus 3. That's the same thing. So you know this is the right answer, okay? Your answer is this binomial here, the two binomials, I mean. Okay? So that's simple enough. I'm going to erase that first one because I want to show you what this looks like. Well, that didn't work. I want to show you what this looks like when you have not just all positive numbers. All right? So over here, the second example, it says if you have x squared minus 6x plus 5, if that middle number is negative, okay, then you know that you ended up multiplying two negative numbers. So here I have a different example. Let's do x squared minus 9x plus 8. When you multiply and you end up with a positive 8, and you add the numbers together and you get negative 9, I would always add the negative signs here in your little guide there. You're thinking, okay, well, I know that if I multiply two negative numbers together, I'm going to end up with a positive. So that's how I have positive 8. And then when I add my two factors, that's going to be negative 1 and negative 8. Well, that's how I end up with negative 9. Right? So I'm going to use those values. I'm going to say, okay, cool. I have x now minus 1 and x minus 8. All right. If I want, I can check, I can FOIL out, but you don't have to do that. It depends on how confident you are in your answer. Okay. My answer are these two binomials right here. Okay. This is one of those things where the first couple times you see the problem, it looks really confusing. But once you realize that essentially what you're doing is this. Okay. You're solving this little puzzle. You're saying, okay, well, I need to find a number or two numbers that multiply to a certain number and add to another number, and then you just plug them right in here to your binomial. Once you can get that process, factoring becomes super easy. Right? Let's look at some other sign combinations I can have. Okay? Sometimes my C value can be negative as well. Right? So let's say I have use a different example than the book gives me. Let's say I have x, not 3x. Say I have x squared plus 3x minus 54, right? Again, I'm always thinking I've got these two binomials I'm going to use. Let me draw my x to come up with my numbers. And I know that they have to add up to this middle number to 3, and they've got to multiply to negative 54. Okay? When your last number is negative, when C is negative, you know, these two numbers have different signs. In order to multiply two numbers and get a negative number, one is positive and one is negative. So I know, I can even do this right here. I know one is going to be a negative number, one is going to be a positive number. Okay, so I have to look at my little factor sheet and go, okay, what are going to be my two numbers that multiply to negative 54 and add up to positive 3? Okay, so 6 and 9 multiply to 54, and this is where it gets a little tricky. I can't just throw 6 and 9 in there. I have to think, okay, which one is going to be positive and negative? Well, if I have a positive value, my higher number needs to be positive. I'm going to have positive 9, negative 6. All right, so I have x minus 6, x plus 9. I'm going to show you the work on this one. I'm going to check my answer. I'm going to say, okay, that's x squared plus 9x minus 6x, and then minus 54. Okay, I know those two middle terms combine. Okay, so 9 minus 6, I get plus 3x, and then negative 54. Okay, so these are the ones that get a little bit tricky. You have to think about your signs a little bit carefully. Right, but I know that one is right, so x minus 6 and x plus 9, that's my final answer there. Let's do one more. Let's do x squared minus 3x minus 40 this time. Okay, so I always know there are two binomials. Always really just want to come up with this little x graphic so I can think about, okay, what numbers do I need? This isn't really something that is part of the problem. It's really just kind of a guide for you so you can think about what numbers need to go where. Right? So you think, okay, well, I know they're going to add up this time to negative 3, and they're going to multiply to negative 40. Right? If you're looking at your little factors for 40, okay, 2 and 20, that's not going to do it. 4 and 10. Well, 8 and 5, I can get to negative 3. Okay, I know I'm going to have one positive, one negative, and I know my higher number is going to be negative. Okay, my greater absolute value, I guess I should say. Okay, my negative 8, positive 5 are going to have to be my two values here. All right, so I've got x plus 5 and x minus 8 here as my two numbers. All right, that's my final answer. If I want, I can check it. Right, I know this process is a little bit tough. If you're in the B group and you're going, oh my gosh, I have no idea what this is, don't worry about it too much. Don't stress yourself out. You'll see me tomorrow. I can help explain. If you are someone who is out, if you're on quarantine, please send me an email. We can get it figured out. Okay, I can find a time to meet with you. All right, I want to make sure that no one falls behind. I know things are still crazy. All right, so send me an email if you get stuck, but go ahead, start on the day one assignment, and I should see you guys tomorrow.